fireside chat. It's my pleasure to request to join us Mr. Ramesh Shanmuganathan, Executive Vice President, Group CIO, John Keells Holdings, and Mr. Mayank Rausaria, Partner, Deloitte India. Thank you, gentlemen, for being kind to wait, and thank you for joining us. The stage is all yours.
Thanks, Deepti. Thanks for inviting us. So as we are here on this, right, we know digital interactions are not new, but what has happened with COVID is everything has got accelerated like never before. If you talk about the old normal, millennials were constantly online, but in the new normal, everyone is online. The organizations that capitalize on this trend to bolster their customer acquisition strategies, retention, revenue, are the ones who are going to win the battle. And it's an important opportunity for business leaders across the spectrum to bring together the right combination of design, strategy, insight, creativity, and cutting-edge technology to elevate the human experience across the customer lifecycle. So with that context, let me welcome Mr. Ramesh. Ramesh, last time we met, I remember it was in Colombo in person. This seems like a different era altogether. So let me start by asking, right? You are the group CIO for a company or a group with 70 companies, presence across multiple sectors, geographies. What does digital mean for an organization like John Keells Holding and in your role as a group CIO?
I think digital obviously means a lot of things to a lot of people, but from where I'm sitting, I look at digital as a means in terms of building better resiliency for a group of our nature, and also a platform to reimagine what we ought to be doing, looking at the contextual change. So when I say reimagine, it's about the new possibilities. It could be new capabilities in terms of what we want to offer, and also create better engagement and hyper-relevance in terms of the data-driven era, right? And also to remodel the way we do things, because traditionally we've been always kind of looking at a linear value chain, and today digital lends itself better for us to build value ecosystems where we could concentrate our assets in terms of a part of the value ecosystem where we are good at and partner with others, right? And that's a huge opportunity for even a group like John Keells to leverage because and to get to the bottom of the pyramid in terms of reducing and managing our cost structures and also to scale the business. So for me, I would look at digital as a means to an end, not an end in itself, in terms of progressively and both organically and inorganically scaling our business.
Absolutely. And I like the way you said you're looking at the value ecosystem, right? Not as individual initiatives overall. Yeah. So with that, I'm sure the journey would have started long back and would not have been easy, right? So can you talk about some of the challenges or learnings from your digital transformation journey so far?
So as you would appreciate, when you have 70 businesses, this is like when you walk into a classroom with 40 students, where do I pitch the lecture, right? Yeah. So you got to obviously assess the capability and appetite for it. And I think in a group of our nature, it's no different. So when you have 7 sectors, 70 businesses, some making 2% of bottom line, some making 10, 15%, it's difficult thing to obviously in terms of manage. So I think that's where our approach has been not only 2-speed ID, multi-speed ID, right? So we look at what is kind of transactional, what is worthy of consolidation. We look at that at 1 speed, and then enabling the businesses to run at their different speed based on what they need to do. Especially industry or business which is in B2C, we obviously acknowledge the fact that they need to obviously have the relevance and appetite and the ability to scale their business at a different speed. So we look at segregating them and facilitating them from a governance point of view, and also without losing the opportunity of a group of our nature to consolidate, simplify, and harness that benefit as well. But we don't want to do that at the expense of not enabling the business to do what they have to run multi-speed ID, right? So I think we were more focusing on 2-speed ID, but now increasingly we are seeing even 2-speed may not be sufficient, right? When you have such a diverse portfolio.
And absolutely, and as you said, right, you have 40 or 70 CEOs all seeking for attention, demanding something to be done for them to differentiate, right? So it's not easy to manage. It's really a difficult thing in normal circumstances. But
Yes.
given the context of COVID, right, and I think everything has got accelerated. And now you're responding to how to run the business or sustain the business or reinvent some of the businesses in the new world, right? So how are you managing the competing accelerated digitization as well as the competing demands which is coming from your business, right? So how do you prioritize, right? Because your capacity, I'm sure, would also be constrained at some point of time.
So definitely, I think as I alluded to, we have a kind of federated governance structure. So we got for each of the industries, we also have mini CIOs and their respective teams which runs the line of business kind of the applications, and we manage the group IT, the governance strategies, policies at a group level. So that enables us to run things differentiated in a differentiated manner as well. So to respond to how we kind of lived up to the challenge of COVID, we actually were blessed to be in a better place, having taken on this transformation into cloud as early as in 2012, right? So we're pretty much, very much equipped with, from a business point of view, from an employee point of view, to work from home, which was kind of not a huge challenge for us. But obviously we were challenged in terms of certain businesses, as you would appreciate, have got used to a demand which were more physical and not digital, right? And all of a sudden, what happened forced them to the physical demand to shift to a digital channel, right? And scaling that overnight was a challenge, especially in the retail sector. And that is where, obviously, because of the capabilities we had and we were already on cloud, we were able to quickly scale and then revamp things, even look at launching mobile apps to the enhanced websites, and then look at personalization. So actually, COVID did fast track a lot of the transformation businesses put on the back burner. Obviously for commercial reasons, and obviously not seeing the ROI on those investments, but which got challenged. Because I think that is the bitter lesson for all of us, is that we can't assume the past will be any good in determining the future. So we got to obviously take some bets in terms of the future, and also not wait to perfect things to go to market. I think that's probably what we should learn from the startup ecosystem. That MVP way of delivering things is definitely a better way of evolving, and today customers have appreciated to live with that.
Absolutely. No, I think it's important what you said, right? One is, we can't predict the future, but at least we can be prepared for the future, as you said, by doing some of the investments earlier, seeing how the industry is going to move, right? So your forays into cloud and other areas as early as 2012 definitely would have helped you, right? More than some of the other industries who are really struggling to cope up with the pandemic. So that's good, but it also brings another challenge, right? So as you said, diverse business, you name any sector, be it hospitality, be it banking, be it IT, manufacturing, you're everywhere, right? So what's your mantra of customer experience for such a diverse business like yours?
So our mantra has been, I think, in terms of kind of spelling it out is much easier, because we try to put customer at the center, and we start with something called a journey mapping. In terms of identifying the points of friction, in terms of their current journeys, and what would be a future journey that we are anticipating for the customer, given the business, and even as a holistic as a group. So if we take a customer as a single view for the group, how better can we serve that person? So then we also apply tools like design thinking, even strategy canvas, to understand how do we then, if this is a journey that we would want to shift to, what are the kind of MVPs that we would want to kind of fashion out, so that we don't have to wait to impact the journey for months of Sundays, right? Because that's where I think we are moving from waterfall to agile to DevOps. All of that is lending itself in terms of from an iterative point of view to deliver value, right? And that is where we are looking at, because a couple of things that we've done in the last 2 years is we've done something like smart homes for our property sector. Then smart retail is something that we are kind of launching for the retail sector. with the app where we would have predictive capability to kind of push your shopping list, save your shopping list, then try to look at promotions and stuff based on your purchasing patterns and your preferences. Similarly, smart factories for our consumer foods business. So then smart hotels, guest rooms for the hospitality business with the Cinema Life, what we are trying to launch. Then even shopping. So most of the things we are looking at the smart concept as an iterative philosophy, where we are trying to eliminate the points of friction from a customer journey, right? And that we are doing iteratively because it's difficult for us to fashion out something, because as I said, the 1,000 moving parts in the world today, right? So today you're working on a technology, and in another month you're having something new, better, which is coming, right? So it's important for us to understand that we have to adopt an MVP concept in addressing that schema, and I think take it at the pace where the industry is moving and where the customer appetite is also growing to kind of to accept that.
Absolutely. No, I think made a few important points, right? And especially around design thinking. If you look at it, it's mostly used and abused words these days. Everybody's talking about, right? But done the right way and creating the right impact and taking a very iterative approach and seeing the value that is delivering and testing it with actual end customers in a more agile way is where the value can be generated quickly, right? And on a sustained basis, not just can be random acts of digitization or design thinking, right? So it's absolutely like the approach that you've taken. Now, shifting gears, while design thinking is important, but also we talk about personalization, right? And today, everybody engages, interacts, purchases virtually, leaving digital impressions galore, right? I'm sure with your business, you must be sitting on a wealth of data coming from all the humans and machines that you talked about through smart homes, smart factories, etc. So what are you doing with all the data that you've collected?
So interesting question. I think that's the journey that we've taken on very consciously and very responsibly, because I know because there is also an element in terms of privacy and how responsibly that we need to start using the data. So that is where we've also initially looking at measures in terms of managing personalized data and anonymizing those so that we don't compromise user privacy or data which we are not supposed to kind of use in terms of enhancing experiences. So one of the things that we are also doing is from a B2C segment point of view. So the information we collect, we also looking at how do we really improve the personal journey for that prospective customer, right? Which is very, very important, because it also gives that consumer pretty much a personal dialogue. Because say, for example, if I am a vegan, I don't want to get a promotion on sausages and meats, right? But because in the past, it's a case that if you're a loyalty member, you get all the promotions, right? So then it reduces a lot more noise and gives you very relevant information which you would probably act on, rather than getting 100 emails or SMSs and saying, hey, only 10 is relevant to me, right? So it is definitely going to reduce the clutter for the customer and also gives him a bit more kind of a perspective that, hey, these guys understand me, they know me, right? And then the trust factor, actually the data helps you to build the trust factor. So that's where I think we were talking about, when you talk about hyper-relevance, it's about building that partnership, right? And building the trust. And the customer also want to be part of the organization. He wants to contribute to the development of the product or the service because he feels passionate about being an integral part of it. And that is what the data journey probably has potential to do. And I think we've embarked on it. I don't think we are kind of anywhere close to where we should be, but we started the journey. And we definitely feel that's going to be a rewarding one, because that's the future.
I'm sure it will be, right. And as you said, right, it's important not just from a customer point of view, but from your business as well, right, in terms of where to make the investments and be very precise about how to use the data. And then trust is an important factor, because someone is sharing the data. They need to really trust how you're using the data that they're sharing with you, right? So that's a very important concept for sure. So maybe taking a different lens, right? In addition to your role as Group CIO of John Keells Group, you're also the CEO of John Keells IT. and you have customers across geographies like Middle East, Europe. How is the global exposure helping in your role as CIO for the group business?
Well, it's helping us by heaps and bounds because it's also helping us cross-pollinate inside out and outside in thinking, right? So being part of John Keells, we obviously have 7 sectors, a lot more diversity. But when you step out of the country, you also see pretty much accelerated pace of technology adoption and learnings that you can bring from an outside-in perspective and adapt for the group as well, and vice versa. So it is definitely helping us in terms of kind of honing our skills, building our exposure, and also help build a better ecosystem to sustain the growth for digital as well in terms of capabilities, because John Keells IT also is the delivery mechanism for us for the group, right? So we have better capabilities by doing projects outside on emerging technologies, which we are able to then hone those skills and deliver better value to the group as well. So it is definitely helping us.
Yeah, definitely the outside-in perspective is important. So I know we are running short of time. Maybe one last question. So what would be your advice to businesses that are maybe embarking, not maybe, I think most of them would have already embarked, or trying to accelerate their digital journeys, right? And especially group companies like you.
So my 2 cents on that would be that take simple steps, right? And always have customer as a point of focal, and looking at identifying, eliminating points of friction, and then look at business model innovation in terms of building new capabilities, new channels, in terms of scaling your business. Because digital is a pretty powerful tool if you only choose to decimate your current business model, right? I always say, if you built a Lego toy, you can't build another toy without breaking it. So digital is something like that. If you have a legacy business, you have to come to terms that I have to break this down to build something which is much more palatable or a new business model. You can't retain that and do this, right? So I think we have to come to terms with there is a pain to get that gain in digital, and we have to go through that pain, right? And seldom most businesses don't want to do that, and hence they kind of defend, maintain the status quo, and then suffer the consequences of it. So I would think and iteratively improve. Yeah, because digital, I think that's the blessing in disguise. You don't have to do everything tomorrow, right? You can iteratively on the startup model, do a lot of things and prove it, scale it, and reap the benefits.
Absolutely. It's like getting it out rather than getting it absolutely right the first time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, be ready to disrupt your own businesses, right? Rather than getting disrupted by someone else. So that's important. I think we have run out of time. It felt like a rapid fire. I hope we had more time. But Ramesh, that was very insightful, and it was a wonderful conversation. With that, we'll wrap up the discussion. Thanks for joining in.